work that you guys do, since it's based around water, it's a good chance that you're going to see some snakes. And I've been asked here to talk to you about the different snakes that you might come across during your work, what to do if you see one, and what to do if you get bitten. I'm always told about the huge tiger snake that chased me, and you know, you always hear stories about tiger snakes chasing you, but while they might lunge at you a couple of times if they feel threatened or cornered, they won't actually chase you. You know, as soon as they see that you're moving away from them, they'll move in their own direction. Basically, all they want to do is get away from you. So 2-3 lunges, when it sees it scared you off, it'll just go and hide, and you probably won't see that tiger the rest of the day. The black and the brown, they're the main ones that we have to worry about down here. In my area on the Mornington Peninsula, we mainly get tiger snakes and copperheads, and we hardly ever see blacks or browns really south of Melbourne, but they do show up from time to time. The tiger has the worst reputation because it's because of the way it flares up. It's got and because of its bite history, the fact that they live close to cities, and because they stand up, they look like the largest tiger snake I caught was about 1.5 metres and weighed in at about 1.5 kilos. They prefer moist environments where frogs are plentiful, as the baby tigers, snakes will eat tadpoles. That's what they mainly eat when they're just after they're born. This one you can see is flattening himself out to make. But generally speaking, they look like this. They're very relaxed, they're easygoing. The only time they're dangerous is when you interact with them. Like a snake like that is not a dangerous animal, you just take a step back from it. You can just see the different variations and different colours of the tiger snakes. The agapanthus, which is one of the most snake-friendly plants you can find, it's because of when it rains, it opens up all around the roots, and the lizards and the frogs go down into the roots, and the snakes follow them in, and they can spend a whole winter in the agapanthus and come out and breed. It's really a terrible weed. Beautiful plant, but terrible. Yeah, smiling tiger snake. This is another angry one. Sometimes I like to make them a little bit angry so they take a better photo. Sometimes they find themselves in cars, and so you've got to... this one was actually brought into a car. This tradie, he had to put his bag down, take his lunch, and put the bag into the back of the car, and the snake crawled into the bag for some reason. I don't know why, but it did. So when I got there, the snake was on the dash, just sunning itself. Nice easy one for me. Yes, another one from the gaming room in Sorrento, obviously. This is about 11 o'clock at night. Tiger snakes are very active on hot nights, so you have to be aware. Like if you had a few wines, you don't want to be really walking around anywhere near long grass at that time, and after dark on a hot night, because that potentially could ruin your day. I suppose everybody here has seen a wild snake. Most of you guys have seen a wild tiger snake. I really think I put too many tiger snake photos here. Okay, this is the tiger snake that I had to pull out of a bird cage. He went into the cage, ate a whole bunch of budgies, killed the cockatiel, and couldn't get out because he couldn't get back through the wire because his body was just so full of budgies. Another one, yeah, they're very attracted to birds and nest boxes. This lady came out, she couldn't figure out why none of her finches were making any noise, and this tiger snake was in the box, and there was about a dozen eggs around it. He was quite happily, you know, he was full of birds and starting on the eggs as well. Another one from Birdcage. A lot of photos of tiger snakes. They are my favourite snake, in case you haven't heard. Tiger snakes can have about 30, maybe 40 babies. 90% of these babies are going to be eaten by birds like ravens, magpies, seagulls even, kookaburras of course, herons, birds of prey, owls, hawks, they all get into them. Compost bins are really good for tiger snakes and copperheads because they have different layers of heat, and they've usually got mice in them as well, so they've got, it's like a block of flats really with food laid on, and they can go in and out and get a feed.
So you're less likely to have them in your compost bin if you have no mice in there?
Definitely, yeah. But they are attracted to the warmth of the
vegetation
inside the compost bin. That's my own pet snake, which is a Chapel Island tiger snake.
How long do they live?
Tiger snakes?
Chapel
Island snake gets to about, has been recorded at 8 foot, which is a very big snake. But I don't imagine mine's going to get any bigger than 5.5 cents. That's true. We call them gorgeous. You've probably seen them in the newspapers a few times. They like to take photos of it. And they love to swim. All snakes love to swim. So you can, being working around water, you're going to obviously come into contact with copperheads and tiger snakes, possibly red bellies. I don't know how far your area extends, if it's up the Mornington Peninsula or if it's, well, copperheads and tiger snakes you're going to see. Dogs. This dog was a very lucky dog. You can tell he's not an old dog, so if he used to do that when he's about 9 or 10, there's a good chance he wouldn't be fast enough to get that snake. So the idea is to get them out of that habit, and if they're already killing blue tongues, I could probably say their days are numbered, because one day the snake will turn around and get them. And I think we are on the copperheads now. Copperheads. These are venomous snake, not quite as venomous as tiger snake, fused with brown snakes and black snakes, because they have this variation in colour. Now they can be black on top, they can be light brown. Really common around homes and industries around Melbourne and across the south of the state, all the way to South Australia, Mount Gambier. They go to about 1.5 metres and have so many different colour forms. They're quite amazing. You get these really light coloured ones. The light colour can be red on the sides and the stomach, or pink, or cream colour. So they're very hard to tell. 9 times out of 10, I get called out to a brown snake and it is a copperhead. They do have a threat display, which includes loud hissing and flattening of the body and the occasional mock strike, but usually they are just all bluff. And they will really only bite if they're absolutely stressed. If bitten, of course, you apply first aid and you get straight to the hospital. And the copperhead bite is treated with the same anti-venom as the tiger snake bite. And you can just, there's a couple more pictures here just showing the variations in the colour. And they're beautiful snake, I think. I know beautiful and snake are commonly used in the same sentence. I think they are. They're one of the first snakes to come out after the winter, because there's such a cold day. They even come out on a winter day if it's hot. That's a dark coloured one. And that's another dark one. Anybody who saw that would say, oh, that's a black snake, but that is actually just another copperhead. Red-bellied black snake? No, it's just a copperhead. Yeah, they do love to eat frogs. This one was snapped by somebody who sent me these photos of it eating a banjo frog or a bobblebomb. The red-bellied black snake, that's another one that you could come in contact with it. It lives in the same area as the tiger snakes and the copperheads. It likes the same environment, like wetland. And these guys are often seen swimming across rivers, creeks and dams. Always the red-bellied black snake is a glossy black on top, so that's how you tell it. Like a dark-faced copperhead is always a dark brown. It's hardly ever real black. But you can always tell it red-bellied black snake is the shiny black and those pink sides, those red sides. That's their distribution. You might see a couple of this is what happens when you get bitten by a black snake. They do have the most painful bite out of any snake, although they haven't caused any deaths. But that's very painful. They have a necrotic venom, which basically eats you from the inside. So you have to be careful enough. You might see this. This is male combat in red-bellied black snakes. I don't suppose any of you guys have ever seen a snakes mating, or seen them combating. A lot of people think that they're mating, and these guys probably would be a little bit taken back if they said, oh, we're mating, but we're not, we're actually fighting. These are two boys fighting. You're probably not going to come across too many of these on the Mornington Peninsula. I've been catching snakes down there for about 30 years, and I've been catching most dangerous snake in Australia. This is because they live close to humans, and the reason they live close to humans is they feed, transport and trade. That's what they love to do. They're found all the way up the east coast, but not so much south of Melbourne. Really fast, extremely fast, and very nervous snake. This is why they're dangerous as well. Usually, when they're away from towns, the brown snake will feed on lizards and birds, frogs and small mammals. But the huge populations of mice and rats that hang around people have brought them in close contact with people. And because they're so flighty and people try to kill them and they're so fast, they usually end up biting people. That's the distribution there. Unlike the other snakes that I've mentioned before, which are all live-bearing snakes, the brown snake is an egg layer. and the eggs hatch around. A brown snake needs to be attacked. It's a really dangerous animal. Even snake catchers don't want to have to handle a brown snake once it's been attacked with an axe or something like that. That was one of the ones that I caught at probably about 3 years ago now. But it was quite pleasant actually, that snake. It wasn't that bad. They've got tiny little fangs, and the fangs are really short. So if you're out in the bush and you just got your standard PPE, you've got your boots, your socks, good socks, and long pants, your chances of getting envenomated by a brown snake are reduced by 80%. They don't go through genes. Usually when they hit the material of the genes, their mouth closes straight away. So they just envenomate the pants. They don't go through to the skin. Lots of people have been saved just by a pair of pants from a snake bite. That's all snake bite. And they're also different to other snakes in that they use constriction to kill their prey. They use constriction and venom, like a double thing, mainly because they live on this. This is a little baby brown snake which is constricting a dead garden skin. This particular one, the small-eyed snake, is dangerous. It's got a venom similar to a tiger snake, but it's got such a tiny face, a tiny mouth and tiny teeth, it can hardly break the skin when it does bite you. Not that I've ever been bitten by one. If you do get bitten by a small-eyed snake, go to the doctor. You have to get medical attention, first aid straight away. Standard first aid, which I'll go over later. Some more pictures of the small-eyed snakes. Okay, don't just because I'm holding these guys in my hand, don't think that you can do that. These guys were cold, and I knew what I could get away with them, so it's probably not a really good educational picture, that one. Don't hold any venomous snakes. I was asked by the serum laboratory if I could milk some because they were curious about the actual venom that was in the small-eyed snake. So this is us milking the small-eyed. They actually sent a technician around so he could milk a couple that I caught. And this one here isn't a small-eyed. This is the other snake that you guys are likely to come across, which is they have a bite like a beast, and they're not a terribly dangerous snake. Probably grow to about 60 centimetres. Beautiful little snake, but they quite often get killed by people because they look like brown snakes, which is a big problem for them. This one didn't make it. Somebody killed it to show it, and then they sent me the photos of it. That's nice.
So all snakes are protected?
All snakes are protected, yeah. Except exotic snakes. I was called out the other day to a corn snake. Then they come from North America and they're not, they get smuggled in, or they've been breeding here since, probably for the last 30 years they've been breeding, and with the illegal pet trade. And quite often they escape and they find themselves in the yards, and I'll get called out to them. They're not protected, but they are illegal to have. So the DSE gets them, and then they need to see a snake and take a step back. Every time you take a step back, your chance of a bite decreases. So whatever you do, don't turn and run away as fast as you can, because you can injure yourself. Like a fellow a little while ago saw a snake and ran as fast as he could, and he took himself out with the clothesline. And he really caused damage to himself. He went straight into it. In case of a bite, this is something you guys probably should need to know. If you get bitten by a snake, obviously it's got to be treated as serious and first aid applied. Don't wait for the clinical signs of the snake bite before using first aid. You get a pressure immobilisation bandage on as soon as possible, then ring the ambulance. Sometimes it might just feel like a pinprick. Other times it might just look like a scratch. But if you're looking for the classic puncture marks, they're not always going to be there. So if you think you've been bitten by a snake, the idea is to get it. These guys are out of date. You don't use tourniquets or cut and suck anymore. You use the application of the pressure immobilisation bandage, or PIB, will delay the absorption of the venom, and it gives you an extra 3 or 4 hours. So that's got to go on as quick as possible. Like I said before, Aussie snakes have tiny little fangs, and when they do bite you, the venom sort of sits just under the skin in the lymphatic fluid, and when you apply the pressure bandage, it stops the spread of this venom. Using a splint with the PIB is also good, because that reduces the amount of muscle-related movement. So you've got to keep absolutely still after being bitten by a snake. And the PIB doesn't restrict the blow, and that's why we don't use this tourniquet anymore, because it was cutting off the blow, and it wasn't working at all. The most important factor for survival of the snake bite is the immediate application of the PIB. If you don't have bandages, you can just rip up the shirt, you can rip up your pants, you can do anything like that. You can, as long as you've got some material that you can wrap around, put pressure on it, like that's some people say, oh, you've got to start at the bite and wind up the arm and then wind back down. I don't think it's really relevant. The main thing is if you get pressure on that bite, and the pressure bandage is what does that for you. There was a guy who presented himself at Frankston Hospital, I think it was about 6 months ago, and he had ripped all his clothes into bandages and driven himself to the hospital. He showed up, he had all his clothes on his arm, he was in his underpants, he was all he had left. He shouldn't have driven himself to the hospital, okay, that's not a good idea, because the venom can start taking effect while you're driving, which can cause you to have an accident. Turns out this guy wasn't even bitten by a snake, he thought he was bitten by a snake. He ripped up all his clothes and back So another 3 or 4 hours after the bite, you can get that bandage on. It's important to make the bite pretty short, feel at ease. If the patient falls unconscious, it's still important for you guys to remain calm around this patient. If you're out of range for a mobile, like some of you guys might find yourself out of range, you can always ring 112 instead of 000, because that will get you the satellite emergency number. So the odds are really high that you're going to survive if you do get bitten by a snake if you apply the pressure bandage. That's where it's all what it's all about. And also, there's been 3,000 dry bites in Australia, so that I know of. And a dry bite is when a snake bites you and it doesn't envenomate you. So a lot of the time, if you step on a snake and just turns around and goes and bites it, it's not really. It's just telling you to go away. It's got no reason to use its venom on it. It will use its venom if it's scared for its life. That's the thing. If it's scared for its life or it's in pain, it will envenomate you. But if not, there's a very, very good chance you're going to get a dry bite. Still apply the pressure bandage, still get to hospital. Don't wash the bite side, because you need to keep the venom on the skin on top of the bite side. So when you get to the hospital, the nurse will give you a VDK, which is a venom detection kit. It's only been out probably since the 80s, I think. And these kits will help them to figure out what sort of anti-venom to give you. Now, I won't tell you what sort of snake bit you, but it will tell you, basically what sort of venom they can give you. Here we go, this is a chart. Pressure and mobilisation kits came in. First, they're a really important part of the ecosystem, and if they were taken out of the ecosystem, then there'd be noticeable changes in the population of rodents and the birds, and also the birds and the animals that eat the snakes. They would be affected. So we do need them. We do need them where we are. We just need to be aware that they are around, especially in the hotter days. Oh yeah, sometimes I get called out to pythons. These usually come down from the north, or they're escaped pets. Quite often I've been called out to these guys. It's not really relevant to you guys because you might come across a python, but yeah, the main thing you've got to worry about is the venomous snakes that are in the area. Pythons, yeah, they get along really well. This is a corn snake that we got the other day. Totally illegal, totally beautiful, and totally dead now. But they euthanize it straight away.
So why would they do that rather than donate to a zoo? Or
there's so many of them. There's so many of them. I would love to see them get used in educational displays like this one, and they don't want them. They've been breeding in Australia for probably 30 years, since before the laws changed, and lots of people have them, and they're still so easy to breed. They're just everywhere now. And there's also now feral populations of them in the south coast of New South Wales, or the central coast of New South Wales. They've got feral populations of corn snakes, and they're competing with other snakes and animals for food and wheels. Quite often I get called out to blue-tongued lizards. People see the scales and the stripes, and they think straight away they've got a tiger snake in the yard. They ring me up and they say, "Oh, I've got a huge tiger snake. It's got a huge head, it's got a huge body. I only saw the front bit of it." And I said, "Oh yeah, it sounds like a huge whatever." And we're taken calling these things the 4-foot tiger snakes, because you get there and it's a blue tongue, you say, "Well, it has got 4 feet." You know, I've got a 4-foot tiger snake. There's the 4 feet. birds are really good natural front line defence. They, like I said before, most birds will take sticks. If you encourage them, then you sort of got a front line defence sitting along the roof of your house. So, and they don't hurt you. Like these ones get to about 3 metres. I actually pulled the 3 metre one out of a sex shop in Frankston because it was somebody's escaped pet. It made its way into the sex shop and it was in amongst all the gear. It was knocking everything over when I got there. So, you're feeling confident? Yeah. Just be the tree. That's just be the tree. He does like being out of the bag, and he loves people, so he's not going to bite you or anything like that. And if anybody else wants to have a feel of it, or if anybody's interested, just feeling the snake, you can just feel the back end of it. You can see it's not slimy, it's warm, it's totally harmless. It feels like a sugar. A carpet snake. It's a little bit weaker. Probably not quite so active. Are you all right with him, or do you want me to put him back in? Is there anybody else that wants to come up and have a hold of him? Yeah, I'll take him off, yeah? Don't go away because I've got another one coming. Just all you have to do is be the tree. Don't restrict his movement, just let him crawl over. He's not going to hurt you. Can't hurt you.
Can I take him down to see my boss?
I tried to use snakes.
Have one of those one-on-one discussions.
And in here I have all these carpets. These are big ones. These are common coastal carpets found all the way pretty much all around the eastern seaboard.
Will they ever go at each other?
It's very... Well, I haven't yet. Yeah, beat the tree, let him flow through your hands, he's all right. If anybody else wants to come up and have a pet, but feel free to come over and have a pet too. And that's why I bought them, so everybody can have a look. Yeah, feels nice, doesn't it? These guys are harmless. They can't hurt you.
They can give you a photos.
They can give you a heart attack. My venomous snake, I've never been hospitalised by a venomous snake.
You're not going to touch it?
I've been bitten by these. Not these particular snakes. I release them. On my permit I have to release them within 5 k's of where I catch them. So, really okay. Yeah, if anybody's got any questions, then pop them out.
Walking through long grass with a long stick in the ground.
Yeah, there is. If you're walking through long grass, I always suggest that you use a golf club, or if you're playing golf, just to spread the grass before you walk through. Oh, not here. If they feel that they vibration. Yeah. They can't hear. They've got no ears. They can pick up some airborne vibrations.
Do you do boys' parties?
Sure, yeah,
Boys' parties?
I can do parties.
That'd keep them quiet.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Bucks nights.
I disagree with parties.
Does it?
They disagree.
I'll take a picture because it's actually on for that on the
Really? Not much action in this corner, just here.
Phil's going to lead the way.
If somebody finds a snake in their backyard, say, how long, and they ring you, how long does it take you to get there? Like instantly.
Usually you're going to have to watch the snake until I get there, and that can take anywhere between, depends on where you are, you know, it can take anywhere between half an hour and an hour. Usually I try to get it, if I can't get to the snake, I'll get somebody out there within the hour. So that means you have to watch the snakes for the hour. Because if you lose sight of it, especially the copperheads, they just disappear into a puff of grass.
How many call outs a day do you get?
on average, maybe 2 or 3 call-outs a day. Some days we get 8, 10, some days we get none. Like yesterday I didn't get, I got 1 call-out and it was to a hothouse, Grandie floor up on Western Port Road. And I had to walk through 5 hothouses in 40-degree heat. And there was a guy leaning on a shovel watching this snake that had already died 2 hours earlier. And he was sitting, he was sweating. He was giving them a can of Coke.
Do they have names? Have you named them?
Yeah, that's Olive, the Olive Python, and this is Morty because I've got to be Morty Olive.
Oh, Morty.
Barry, what would you feed these? Like, how much would these snacks eat?
These guys eat about a rat probably once every 2 weeks. And it doesn't matter, they can probably go a year without eating. So, and because I've got them on thermostatically controlled enclosures, they can I can go away for a month and leave them. I don't have to worry about like getting babysitters or pets or chair or anything like that.
You feed them live or?
Eh?
You feed them live?
No, I never feed any animals live. Because apart from the fact it's not natural to throw a live rat into a small tank with a snake, the rat can also damage the snake. It's just bloody cruel.
Yeah.
No, I buy them frozen. Mm.
So can you tell when it's getting hungry? Like, you know.
They're pretty much always hungry. So they're very easy to overfeed. Like this one seems to be getting a bit fat. I might have to put it on a diet.
How old are they?
Morty, I think, would be about 6 years old.
Oh.
And I'm not sure about this guy. I think he'd probably be about 3 years old. They grow a lot faster than carpet snake. They're actually a totally different species of python. The more you feed them, the more they shed their skin.
What's it?
Tiger snake's about 20 years. If you've got a big tiger snake on your property, there's a good chance that he's been living there for 20 years. He already knows the comings and goings of your property, and he's keeping all the smaller snakes away. So he's a better one to have around. It's always good to have, a big resident snake on property. Like if you have got a rural property, you probably have got snakes on it, but the snakes have seen you, but they've been so shy that they've pulled back and you don't see them. Quite often I go around to people's place and they'll say, oh, I haven't seen a snake here for 18 years, I've been living here for so long. And now I've seen them. I said, well, the snakes have seen you, don't worry about that.
So around the area, it's predominantly what, copperhead and tiger?
In this area, tiger snakes and copperheads. Both very easygoing snakes, and both want to have nothing to do with people. If they have a chance, they'll just move away from it. And like I said, if you're walking through long grass, try to spread the grass before you put your foot down.